right. So we are going to continue our DevOps series, and we are going to jump into DevNet. So we have discussed earlier about the importance of DevNet and DevOps. So DevOps actually a different concept altogether. We have had our lessons on that. So you can go to my channel and check those videos. And now we are going to start a kind of probably a extension of this. Which is now very popular, which is called DevNet, right? So this is like the starting point of. I'm branching a bit from DevOps for this series. This is basically on DevNet. So DevNet is again another ecosystem. So there, what we try to do is we are going to use the development related or dev related technology into networking, right? So it can be quite interesting. So getting a very simple example to get you going. So as an example, if you have a situation where we have to configure several routers, not only one, but there are several. So in that sense, you are supposed to do this automation on routing configurations. So these days, it's not that hard to do it as it is or it was the days before. So basically, what we can do, we can write Python code, right? And then we can connect to these routers at one go, and you can configure them, and you can do automation. So there are so much of tools that is involved. So initially, we need to get a good grasp on the dev concepts or dev tools. So then we'll be able to do the rest. So this first session, I'm trying to give you a bit of a overview of the dev. So if you're not coming from this background, so this can be very useful. If you're coming from the dev background, so this is quite easy for you. So I would ask you to skip this one. Right. And when you're trying to learn this, actually, I had a series on GitHub. So here also I'll be touching base some of the concepts on GitHub. But here, the most important thing is when you want to learn about DevNet, you have to ideally have a good programming environment to work with, right? So programming environment. So there are so many choices. Of course, you can start with Notepad. You can write your code in, it can be Python or C or any other code. You can write it on Notepad, and then you can run this in the environment, right? So this is, of course, one option you have. This is one extreme. Or the other extreme is where you can use a fully grown IDE. So there are a lot of IDEs around. So you can find Visual Studio.net or Visual Studio, IVS, and then we have NetBeans, which is coming from the Java world, right? NetBeans, and you have again coming from open source world, you have things like Eclipse, right? So again, I think it covers a lot in Java, Eclipse, and also there are other products in JetBrains, and so many other products are there, which are IDEs. So these are fully grown software which you use to develop enterprise systems. So of course, there's no harm of using these things, but understand there's so much of things that you have to learn to work with IDE, unlike a Notepad. So uh, so there's no ruling that says don't use these concepts, right? So or use these tools. You are, you are at a freedom to select any of those tools, but rather we would like to use a tool somewhere in the middle. So where we use a tool called, so there are a few tools that we can use. You have something called Sublime, and also really famous. So you have Atom, right, and also we have VS Code. So it's like a more for child of Visual Studio. But VS Code, importantly, it's done by Microsoft, but still it's a open source variation. So, and this became really popular in the last several years. And there are so much into this, and you will see when you open this, it's quite a neat tool and quite a useful tool as well. So we'll try our best to understand VS Code and how it can be used for our DevNet related activities, right? So we'll be able to use this as a great tool, overall great tool. Right, so now we'll jump into Visual Studio. Okay, yeah. So this is so you can go to the you can go to some of you already have worked with Visual Studio Code or VS Code. So if you go to the website, you'll be able to download it for free. Uh, and depending on the platform that you are in, Windows or Linux, or in my case it's Mac. So depending on the platform you are in, you'll be able to use the specific software related, right? So you can download it from the site. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Okay, as you can see, it's quite a nice UI, right? And also there are so much of interesting things: intelligence, debugging, built-in JIT, so extensions. So here, extension is quite popular, and also it uses JIT, so it's quite interesting. And there are thousands or probably more extensions which you can use. And importantly, it supports many different languages, as you can see, Java to R to make or even Markdown, HTML. So we'll have a look at it, and also Java, Python, HTML, JavaScripts, Ruby, all these things are there. And it's available for all the platforms. It's cross-platform. It makes a lot of sense in that sense. All right, so this is basically where you start. So this is the welcome screen. So you can get basic things like new file, open folder, and some help stuff, GitHub repository. And you can check the commands here. There are plenty of commands. As you can see, this is called the command palette. From here you can get all these nice commands. So there's a long list here. So you can see these are the commands. So I'm using Mac, so it's command. If it is Windows, you can get the control or whatever. You'll see the key. Okay. So I'll go through some of the important commands, but I'm not going to go through everything. It's not the idea here. Okay, and yeah, so that's basically it. So we can start with now working with our IDE. So again, here also you have open file or folder. You can have command O, right? So open recent command R, or yeah, so like control R, and yeah, so that's how it goes. So now what I'm going to do, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder, right, to work with things. So let me open up or create a folder quickly. Just give it a second. So I'll select this, and I'll come here. I'm going to create a folder called DevNet series. Okay, so inside that I'm going to create DevNet test1. Okay, that's my folder. So inside here I'm going to create my files and other related things. Okay, so let me now go here and open oh yeah, I say add folder, so I can use both, or I can say open. If there's a file I can say open, otherwise I can go as let me check file, yeah, add folder to workspace. So I will go and select the location. Oops, sorry, I did the wrong thing. So I'm going to come back again quickly. File. again. Okay, this time I'll do it right. Add folder to workspace, and I'm going to select experiments. DevNet says, okay, this is my folder, so I'm going to add that. So there's nothing in it now. So as you can see, there's nothing in it. So if I go to the folder, I can show you my folder. So there's nothing in it as well, right? So let me show you. So this is the folder, so DevNet test one. So there's nothing there. So what I'm going to do now, I'll come back to that. So I'm going to create a file. So I would say there are so many different ways of creating a file. I would say new file, and I would say, okay, new file, hello world dot py. All right. So of course I can do a bit of coding and hello world. That's the simplest Python code. So the Python is not installed. Yeah, so I can say download. Do you want code to open external website? Configure trusted as open. It's okay. No, I don't have to do that. Yes, so as a select Python interpreter. So entire workspace, and this is the interpreter I'm planning to use. So that's okay. And also here in the down, the bottom, I can use this interpreter, right? All right. All right, so that's fine. So then I would see running my code. Go to the terminal, run that, run the Python file in the terminal. Yeah, so I get the hello world. So it's working fine. So you can change your Python version from here as well, guys. So, but at the moment, I'm using that. Okay, so now if I check my folder, I'm seeing this hello world. So that's all what I'm seeing. So that's the only file that I created. So that's good. And so that's good. And the next what I'm going to do is I'm going to save workspace as. So now these are folders, but when I'm working with something in this is common for a lot of IDEs. So VS Code also I have to keep a workspace. So that can be quite important. So I'm going to save the workspace as here I'm going to save it. So I can save it inside this folder or even somewhere else. So I would say VS, so this is DevNet test. Okay, so this is the workspace. So I'm going to save it here. So when I save it, you can see that I am getting this code.workspace file. So it's basically of kind, as you can see here. Yeah. So this is Visual Studio code document. That's the kind of the file. Okay. Right. So now if I go here to this particular section called Explorer. So there are several sections in Visual Studio. So as you can see at this left hand side, you find this Explorer window, and you can add files and direct files, folders, and you can refresh things. Here as an example, if I add a file to my folder here, I can get it from here as well. So as an example, if I quickly go to I'll go to desktop, camp, and then experiments, and then DevNet series. That's how then you put a face in between. Oops, so bit of a difficulty of going there because of the space. It's my mistake. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to in the space. Hope things will be all right. Here also I don't need the space. So I'm going to refresh this. That's problem. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open workspace. Yes, so that will do the trick. Desktop, experiments, DevNet series, DevNet desktop, and this is my workspace. Okay, that will do. Okay, everything is good. So I have the path DevNet workspace and the hello world. So what I'm going to do now, if I go here now, problem is solved. And then okay, so we have the file. So I'm going to create a new file. This time my second file, or rather test2 file. Okay, that's there. So as you can see, without much of a delay, it's being added here. So that's cool. And if you don't have that file, you can refresh it. All right. So then, if you look at the workspace file, you can see there's a one folder. This is the DevNet test1 folder, which is already there. So the path is in the same folder, and then you have the settings also, which is using the Python path. And then let me check. So I'm going to create another directory this time, DevNet test2. Okay, so there's nothing in there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a folder, another folder this time to the workspace. This is this DevNet test2. Okay, and once added that, as you can see, path is clearly displayed here. So you can have any number of folders added to one workspace. So workspace can handle all those files. So that's basically, and also we have run this file as well. So you can terminal, you can run that. So you can get the hello world output. That's pretty cool. So now I will write a small test2 file. So I'm going to write bit interesting program. I'm going to get input and say what is your name. So whoever should give the input. So I'm going to get the input, which is name, and I'm going to create a message, a string, hello, hello, and so that I'm going to build a string, hello, whatever the name, and that would be the message. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to print this. All right. So I believe that is a basic program. Okay. All right. So next, okay. So we can run the code. So let me run the file in the terminal. So it's asked what's your name. So I would say Lakman. So it says hello. It's quite simple code. Right. So the purpose of writing this code is to teach you a few things. All right. Right. So the first thing that I'm trying to do with the code is to teach you how to do the debugging, right? How to do the debugging. So when you have a code like that, be able to do that easily. So to debug, normally in some platforms, you would have the debug menu here in the top. In Mac, you will have a particular debug screen like this, run and debug, right? Okay. So when I click on that, you can of course uh, debug the file. So I have to debug the Python file. So basically, it will come to this. So you can see in the debug menu, there are variables, right? And then the watch and the call stack and some breakpoints. So my code is running, so I'm going to say Lakmal, and that's it. So basically, it didn't do much because I haven't put any breakpoints. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a breakpoint here. So you can see the breakpoint now, the test2, and also I'll put a breakpoint in the print. First I'll run with only one breakpoint. To customize run and run, create a launch.json file, select a workspace to create the JSON file, say DevNet test1. That's all right. So it will create that file. I don't need that. It's a Python file. Okay, so you get launch configuration file if you want to do anything. So this is basically for the debugging purposes. So you can add the configuration if you want to add anything. So this will come later on, like we'll do this Node.js thing, which is a bit different. So we're not going to run that at the moment. So let's go to this one, and now you can see now I have breakpoint. So let me run the code from here. So this is the debug mode, guys. So there are some configuration options here, so I don't need that. I'm going to run this. When I run that, so it will come to the state. Okay, it's come to the state. What is your name? So it's still here in the code, right? So, and you can see in the top there's this toolbar. You have options like step in, step out. You have learned this in GDB and several other places. If you don't know GDB, please watch my YouTube channel. You'll find some nice videos on that. All right, so I'm going to put Lakmal. Now I'm in that breakpoint. You can see this yellow color line indicating that I'm here. All right, so now if you check here, you can see the variables. So the first variable is the name variable. So here, and at the moment it's filled with the value Lakmal, and then we have other values here. So built-in functions, variables, packages, a lot of other things, right? So plenty of other things are there. So I'm not going to confuse with any of these things. So basically, the name is what is required at this particular moment. All right. In the code stack also, you can see the information. You can copy it if you want. That's basically it. So then I can either step in, step out. So basically, step in is F level, stepping into the function, and step out is just go over the function, or step over is going over the function. So I would step in. So and then I am not going. There's no breakpoint here. So I could print this. Okay, printed it and went out. So that's basically a very simple debugging. So this time I'm going to put another breakpoint, which I'm going to stop it here. So I'm going to run this again. Python DevNet file. Yeah. So it's coming here in the terminal. So what's your name? I'll say Rahman. Right, let's come here and I do something interesting. So these things probably know. I'll change this value and put email. All right. So I've changed the value to email. Now I will step in the printf and go there. So that's basically a change of the values. So that's good, no? So I can do the debugging like that. Now I'll do something bit different. This time, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to write a quick JavaScript file. So let me go to my Explorer and I'm going to Right click here. Okay, and that's another thing that I want to show. If I get the settings, so command Q, sorry, no. Oops, command Q, just vanished everything. Sorry about it. Let me bring it back. Yep. Takes a bit of time to load. Yep, fine, everything's fine. It's true. Yeah, everything seems to be good. Okay, so I just wanted to show that now if you want, you can change different settings of your folder or the workspace. To do that, you have to go to settings, and once you go to the settings, go to this preferences and settings. Yeah, so once you go here, you can access settings by, that's what I got it wrong. It's a command and not a Q, but a comma. Sorry about it. Right, so yeah. So now if you go here, there are three options, right? So you have the user, workspace, take a bit of time. Okay, the workspace and this and the folder, right? So there are two folders, DevNet test 1, test 2. So now if I go to folder 1, now see, now this file hello world.py, right, is in the DevNet 1 folder, right? So this is DevNet test 1 folder. So what I'm going to do is, if I look at the text, right, size is 12 and users Korea new, blah, blah, blah. So I would like to see the font size in 15, 15, huh? So when I do that, if I go to hello world.py, what's there a change? Font size also modified in user, control the font size in pixels. Yeah. It should be like say 18. Okay, so obviously the size is different, right? So test 2 also the same size is different. So if I want to go to 12, back to 12 or 10, 11, so you can see, yeah, change. So try to understand from here you can change that, right? So let's see 14, that will be a good size, right? And see, when you do that, right, sometimes it doesn't affect the user's workspace, right? So in the workspace, the text editor is still the 10. And so you can check that as an example. If I go to DevNet test1 folder, so the text size is, font size is 14, or 14. And if I go to DevNet test2, and if I create a file here now, I would say fib.js. So that's a JavaScript file. So now see, so it's based on the user's workspace font. Right? So workspace. So I will go and change this to DevNet test 2. So let me go to the folder, and then, so I don't want that to be 12. So I want that to be 10. Right, no, it's hard to understand. So 16. I would say 16. So now if I go to fib.js, it's quite, it's B16, right? B16 because it's in the DevNet test 2. Alright, hope that works. Yeah, so it should be 16. So you can do those changes, or you can do the overall changes here in the user mode. So font size is 17, so if you want, you can change it here, and all the other features and other things. Alright, so let's start writing our JavaScript file. So I'm going to run a function, simple function called Fibonacci. So for each of you, I'll say Fibno, right? Function Fibno functions, right? No? Okay, I'm going to pass a number, and then of course that's the for the function. Let's Fib2. Okay. So now I check whether the number is less than 1. So the Fibonacci series, if you can remember, less than 1. So we have a bracket here, and return would be always 1. That's the first logic. Then we need to develop the Fibonacci series. So I'm going to get the variable const result, which is equals to, so you use the same Fibonacci function with recursion. So remember, when you do DevNet, you have to be good in programming as well. So without knowing programming, you you can't basically do much of DevNet. Right? Now, so what is next one? Num minus 2, no? Yeah, num minus 2. Yeah, so that would bring the necessary output. So now I'm going to print this now, console.log. So that's how you print in JavaScript. I'm going to print this function by calling. So first I'll call this one, and so I'm passing some values inside. Okay. And let's jump to the print. So print should be the result. Result, and that would do. Only thing is I have to pass the values, the numbers here. So I can pass the numbers later. So we'll pass the number here. All right, that'd be good. So it will be the number that comes from 5, 6, or whatsoever. So, and forgot the move from Python to JavaScript. To remember that you have to have a semicolon at the end of the sentence. So you have to return the result. Alright. So that's about it. That's basically about it. And what else you need? Yeah, so now you need to call the function. So to call the functions, you know, so I put 6, and so I think you get a return of this. So that would be a constant value. Yeah, that would be a pretty nice code. So it's already saved. Let me check whether I can run this. Run code. Okay, then, but to get the output, I need to run through node. So node is okay. So I'm in the folder, so I'm going to run with node. Okay, node is a server-side JavaScript engine. It's libraries, so Node.js is pretty big. There are things in this. So this is not the session to understand Node. Okay, that's okay. All right. So I will run the fib. So you get the output. So it's very clear. So now my point of running this is to do some interesting debugging. So you can't do debugging inside. It's difficult to do a debugging here. With check. Yes, so this way it's not possible. It's possible. So basically, you can set up a listener and do that. Right. This is also possible. See as an example, it will run a node service, right, and then it just gives the output. So what I need is, if I run this, I need to put yeah, a breakpoint here and rerun this. Yes. Once you go here, you can see that my variables are here. Result is 2, and on this iteration, and you can see other stuff as well, right? So closure, yeah, global variables, everything is here. So this is also one way of doing that, right? Okay, that's cool. So the other way of doing that is, so this you can do within the environment. Uh, and what we can do is you can run the same command, right, outside, which is here. Let me run this. So I don't need the code that I would run this. So see, like it runs here. So that's cool. So then I can probably run this one. Okay, add config workspace and command. All right, so I think so we have to look at the Node.js output. So we run this, so you can see the output. That's fine. So we can get the output like this. So next is to go and do the debugging, right? To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and open this up, and then I put a breakpoint here, and I'm going to the debug menu, and then I'm going to run this. So here you have to select launch program DevNet test 2, and then it's like the previous time. I'm going to run this. So once I'm running, so you can get it here, and debug console, you can see the debug console here, and here you can find the variables, right? So the result variable, num variable, the 2 is the one which is there right now. So all the details are there. So that's how you basically run or debug a JavaScript file. The rest you can continue, right? All right. So you can see it's 4, 2, 3. It changes. So it goes in this. Yeah. So then you can get the output. All right, that's perfectly fine. So now, so we have done the debugging, so now we know how to do that. So let's now check with some cool things on the VS Code. So I'll take you through some interesting tricks and tips that you can do in VS Code, which can be quite useful. So the first thing that you guys can do is to get familiar with VS Code. Okay, let me start with something cool. Of course, you can change the themes, guys. So this theme is the dark theme, which is cool.